everyone, and welcome to the Zelda Cast here on ZeldaDungeon.net. My name is Andy Spiteri, joined by Allison Aletha. What's going on, Al? How are you?
I'm good. I was just thinking of how the other day
I was
I
thinking about
pulled a
that
Zoom
too.
on you and interrupted your intro.
Yes.
So I was trying not to do it again.
That was like take three. I was struggling with the intro. And I think I finally kind of psyched myself up. I had it, and I was like, hello, and Allison's like, blah, 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 and
No,
it was
okay, well,
lost.
first of all, I was like patting my cheeks because they were so red. And you made like a funny face at me, so I was trying to explain what I was doing, but at the same time you started the intro, so I was like, I thought he was making a funny face because of what I was doing. No, he was just making a funny face because that's how he gears up to do the intros.
I was aghast that she interrupted the
Listen,
intro.
I never interrupt you, and to be fair, I had been drinking, so
Yes, you
once
had.
in a lifetime opportunity there.
Yes, indeed. It was a fun night the other night as we were recording new episodes of our new podcast, and we are going to get to that in a quick second here. But we should start off just by letting everybody know what is going on for today. A lot of people have been asking for this episode for a long time. We didn't really know what to do 1 week before the Switch 2 launches. Like, we are, what are we now? We're 4 days away, Al.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy from the Switch 2. And I don't know about you, actually, but I feel like the Switch 2 release has almost like kind of crept up on me a little bit here. And maybe that's because there's no Breath of the Wild launching with it, or there's no like Metroid Prime 4, or you know what I mean, like that big game. Mario Kart is like a massive game for sure, but like at least for me, like that's not like the killer app for the Switch 2. So it almost kind of feels like, wow, the Switch 2 is like coming it's coming up like in a couple of days here, which is wild. But yeah, so we didn't quite know what to do, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and she had pre-ordered the Switch 2, but not the Mario Kart edition. So I was like, what are you gonna play? And she was like, well, I'm probably just gonna like replay Breath of the Wild. And I was like, well, that sounds like a great plan, to be honest, because I don't know what I'm gonna play either. I'll play Mario Kart, but you know, I want to play something else as well. And so Al and I were talking the other night, and we are like, well, what should we do? Next week is going to be kind of our first impressions of the Switch 2, and we'll kind of go from there. I'm sure we'll get into some Wind Waker content here pretty quickly. But so we were like, what are we going to do for today? And we finally decided it is time to definitively rank The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which I feel like is very apropos because this game obviously like launched with the Nintendo Switch, and with the Nintendo Switch 2 launching, it feels like kind of a full circle moment here that we're going to be finally talking about this game. So I'm excited for that.
I'm excited for that as well. I'm excited to kind of get back into the world of Breath of the Wild because for the last, few years, it's been all Tears of the Kingdom, and sure, it's very similar world, very like almost the same world, but like it's just been a while since I've given deep thought to Breath of the Wild, so I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to also get back into it on the Switch too, so I can learn some new lore from the voice drops in the new Zelda app. Yeah, I'm excited overall. However, I'm a little nervous. I hope I have my Switch 2 for our first impressions episode next week.
Yeah.
I've got a concerning email. I haven't gone a definitive canceled, but I'm a little worried. I might have to make some calls after this. So
Indeed.
fingers crossed, everybody.
Yes, nothing but good vibes for you securing that Switch 2. I will say this. I haven't seen a ton of people saying that any pre-orders have been canceled so far.
I've seen a couple people in our break room say so. I think Kristen Rosario was saying that his got canceled.
Oh, sorry, buddy. Well, I guess I obviously missed that, but I guess it's went better than I've thought. I guess put it that way, because I did think that there would be a lot of pre-orders that would have been canceled.
It's not like the new 3DS with the collector's edition Majora's Mask from 2015. That was horrific, where they just were canceling left and right.
Yeah,
it was awful.
That was tough.
Oh.
Okay, before we start definitively ranking Breath of the Wild, I feel like we shouldn't dilly-dally because we got a lot to get into here with this game. But we do, in fact, have a new podcast to announce. And I want to temper people's expectations right off the bat. This is going to be a podcast that is going to be available exclusively on patreon.com/spnet. This is a podcast that people have been asking for a long, long time. And it's something that we finally made happen. We've recorded a couple of episodes and we've got them in the can. It was so fun. I don't know. Actually, I know you had a good time the other night.
I had so much fun.
So it was a good time. And we are going to go ahead and announce this right here. I kind of think that we need to let the music do the talking for us, Al. So if you're ready.
You're going to play music that I can't hear?
I'm going to play it.
Bummer.
Yeah, I'm going to play it. I'm
for
sorry. Okay, here we go. That's right, baby. Introducing Middle-earth, the podcast. Andy Spiteri, Allison Aletha, Corey Richmond. New monthly episodes. Patreon.com/spnet. It is a podcast all about J.R.R. Tolkien's Legendarium. We're covering Lord of the Rings. We're covering the Silmarillion. We're covering The Hobbit. We're covering Unfinished Tales. We're covering a lot of different stuff. The movies, the games. It's going to be anything and everything that has to do with the world of Middle Earth and the lands that preceded Middle Earth as well. So lots of people have been asking for a long time, and we finally pulled the trigger, and we are going to deliver this podcast to everybody. Middle Earth, the podcast.
I'm so excited. It was so fun to finally, because we've been talking about maybe just having like one bonus episode, and of a topic that we do have in our first initial episodes. But I'm excited that it's going to be a continuous thing because like I said when we were done recording, I was like, yeah, I love Zelda, and I talk about Zelda every week for the last 6 to 7 years, and it's great, but like it's the same thing. But I have other interests, and I'm so excited to talk about something else I'm interested in, and it just feels new and exciting, and so it was a lot of fun. And I learned some stuff too, like Corey has a lot of knowledge, and then you have this other knowledge that comes from like you were talking about like the behind the scenes stuff and stuff like that. I haven't watched any of that, so you have like all this other information. So I love like absorbing different things that I haven't experienced yet when it comes to Tolkien. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, like everybody has kind of a different knowledge base. Like I think it's probably fair to say Corey is by far the most knowledgeable of like the actual like books themselves.
Yes.
Like this maniac has read like every single piece that Tolkien has ever written. I'm probably like more of like the film and like the real world, like how this kind of evolved throughout the course of like the real world. And Allison is very much like if you want to know about the Doom of Mandos, she'll tell you. she won't stop telling you.
I opened like my internet browser to bring up my definitive ranking list, and like it said continue the tab Doom of Mandos.
Oh God. Yes. There, you know what? So we have like, is there a Go to Hell Corey quota per episode? I don't think there was a Go to Hell Corey, but there was a Go to Hell Allison. there was that.
Wasn't there?
There was. I had to. I didn't want to, Al, but you forced my hand.
You know what? I just have specific feelings about it, and you wanted to kick out like a main character for me, so.
so we did a few like really fun episodes. First and foremost we talked about kind of like how we got into like Lord of the Rings and that kind of world, everything like that. I've been working on like how I would make a Silmarillion movie, which is much harder than it sounds because there's like so much in there. So we talked about that. We talked about our favorite moments and characters and just like happenings from the Elder Days, so the Year of the Trees and the first age of Middle Earth. And we got like a lot of fun stuff on tap as well. We're gonna do the hot takes. We're gonna bring that gimmick, but we're gonna apply it to Lord of the Rings. We are gonna do like a fan Q&A. So like any Tolkien heads out there that have questions or anything like that, we'll answer those. We're gonna be reviewing the Hobbit trilogy, because I think that could like probably use a fresh perspective. It's been probably like 3 or 4 years since I've seen the movie, so I would
Oh
be
my gosh.
curious to watch them again.
I watch them multiple times a year. Same with the Lord of the Rings movies. So I'm down to clown with the Hobbit movies.
And we're gonna do the cartoon, the animated movie as well, eventually. And of course, we're gonna be talking about the Hunt for Gollum. Maybe we'll do a War of the Rohirrim kind of review. We'll talk about some of our favorite Lord of the Rings video games. Again, some of our favorite moments from the book. So it's gonna be like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but it's going to be like kind of Middle Earth related there. So I had an absolute blast doing this. We had a good time. We recorded for, God, I don't know, 3-4 hours, something like that. Yeah. It was a good time.
We're a solid trio when we talk about, Middle Earth and stuff. I don't know if
Yes.
we could say we were a solid trio talking about Zelda, but
Yeah.
but this was a good content for us.
Allison was kind of like the Aragorn of this, and then me and Corey were like Legolas and Gimli. I don't know which one is which yet, but it was a good starting off point there anyway. So Middle Earth, the podcast, available over on patreon.com/spnet. It was an absolute blast, and we hope that you guys are going to enjoy it. So there it is, Middle Earth, the podcast. All right, Al, we better get into this Breath of the Wild definitive ranking, because we have a lot to get into here. It's funny actually, because I haven't played Breath of the Wild in a couple of years now, but like I feel like I can just remember things like they were yesterday, like in that world. And maybe it's because like, we've played Tears of the Kingdom, and a lot of that is fairly similar structurally and obviously world-wise as well. So I feel pretty good. I feel pretty ready to go ahead and get the show on the road.
I agree. Let's go.
All right. So, to set the table here, the rules of engagement for anybody that doesn't know, definitive ranking is we have 10 categories that we think make up the perfect Zelda game. So these 10 categories are the ingredients that you put into the blender, you turn on high, it goes around, and then it comes out as a perfect Zelda smoothie. And that makes a Zelda game. This analogy just went off the rails. But
it.
So these 10 ingredients make up the perfect Zelda game. And to really quickly go over them, we are going to be talking about the world. So self-explanatory. What does the world look like? The art style. Do we like it? How does and there's a little bit of like graphical fidelity in here as well, but Zelda games mostly just concentrate on like the actual like design of the characters. The story is a big one here. The pacing and progression. So, like, does the game continually allow you to not be stuck, to do what you want, to go where you want, and kind of keep silently pushing you towards your next destination? The gameplay and combat. So, again, self-explanatory. Items and abilities. Dungeons are a big one. Enemies and bosses. Side content and extras. And, of course, the music and the sound design. So, we are going to be assigning each of these categories a score. 1 is not a good score. That means that these categories or the particular ingredients do not quite they're not quite up to snuff. They're going to give us some dubious food if we try and use them. But if they're a 5, that means that it's absolutely perfect and really doesn't have any room to improve there. So that being said, I think that we need to get us kicked off here, Allison, and we are going to start off with the world. Allison, your score.
I think this is an easy 5. I went with, when I look back at Tears of the Kingdom, it's going to be hard not to compare these two in my definitive rankings for them. I put a 4, and I think the only reason I put a 4 is because it's kind of a repeat of what Breath of the Wild did.
Right.
Honestly, I might go back in time someday and be like, Tears of the Kingdom world is a 5 because it does add on, but that's just me. But I'm going to say for Breath of the Wild, it's a 5 because it... Like, go back to 2017, you come out of the cave as Link in his, like, sleepy stupor of 100 years, and you just see this vast, incredible world for the very first time, and the music's swelling, and it was so incredible, and like being able to have the freedom to do whatever you want and explore all of that was like that was the gist of the game, and it was just like such a fun time and continues to be a fun time. So I'm gonna say like the world overall, the vibe of Hyrule, the post-apocalypticness, the beauty, it's a 5.
I think this is like maybe the easiest score on this entire category, actually, or like this entire list. It's a 5. For sure. The world of Breath of the Wild, I mean, it was so good that they literally just used the exact same thing again in Tears of the Kingdom. So, I mean, yeah, it's an easy 5. And again, kind of to put us back into context in 2017, like playing this game, I'll never forget, like, and we had seen some, obviously some videos and gameplay footage, but a lot of that had really kind of been limited to the Great Plateau, which in and of itself is a incredible like area that many games would have just been like, well, this is good enough for me, like we could just explore around in the sandbox and it still would have been fun. But I mean, you go from there to Akala, to Hebra, to Lanayru, to I like go down the list, like the Gerudo Desert. Like this world is so vast. There is so much to see. There is so much like interactivity that you can do with this world. I think that like you can just get lost in this world for days, for weeks, for months, like exploring everything. And I think that the world of Breath of the Wild is just like such an achievement. Like there's never been a world I think in a Zelda game that's felt more alive to me than what happened in Breath of the Wild. And like, yeah, like I think some people maybe had some critiques where their world wasn't full enough, or wasn't, I don't know, there wasn't enough like going on. I don't particularly subscribe to that, because I just think that the emptiness is like part of the character of the world. Like there are certain places which are designed to be empty because they used to be inhabited, but now they're not because of the calamity. And then other parts of the world is just the I don't know, the isolation, I guess, just kind of adds to the subliminal story that the game is trying to tell. So this is like such an easy 5 for me. I'd probably say like the world of Breath of the Wild is the strongest world of any Zelda game.
I would want to say, if I were to say that, I would have to be like, I would have to give it a 6, because there's other worlds in our definitive rankings in the past that I've given 5s to. So I don't know. It's just, it's definitely like an independent experience. I just feel like I can't go any higher than a 5. So that's what I'm going to give it.
Yeah.
But if I could, I would, I think.
I mean, I would be tempted to as well. Like this world, like I said, it's just so, like it's so vast, it's so expansive, and really like it was something so different at the time as well. So like it really, I just feel like not only did it really just set the standard for like future Zelda games, but like honestly, like really, and I'm not trying to say that like Breath of the Wild was the first open world game. Of course, there have been so many at that point, but I feel like the quality and just the grandeur of this world, I think just really kind of like set the bar for new open world games to try and match. So yeah, I think that this is an easy 5.
Easy 5.
Easy 5. Okay, let's go to the art style next. Al, I'm going to give this another 5. I think it's an easy 5 for me.
Yes.
I really love kind of the Studio Ghibli like art style of Breath of the Wild. I think it's like the perfect amalgamation, actually, of all of the other Zelda art styles that we love. There's some cell shading in there from the Wind Waker, but it kind of, it doesn't look like as goofy or as, you know what I mean, like kind of bobbleheadish as that game does. You have some of the more like whimsical designs of Ocarina of Time in there, but you also have some scary stuff from Majora's Mask and from Twilight Princess as well. There's some vistas and landscaping that very reminiscent of Skyward Sword. I think that this is like honestly like the perfect art style for Zelda, and I know that we're all kind of tired of it by now because it's been almost 10 years of this art style. But I think that this is one that we just really are going to look back fondly at and say like this art style like really really worked. Like this almost feels like, to me, it should be like the like default art style for The Legend of Zelda, the one that we go back to every every now and then, because I thought that it was very, very, very fitting. And you know what? Like, the other thing about this art style as well is that I think it also kind of helped with the transition away from like Link from the classic green to like all the other outfits and stuff like that that he could be wearing as well. So yeah, this is another easy 5 for me. I really love it.
I'm in agreement. I would say 5. I think because it paved the way for the Switch Zelda art style that I love so much. I would say like when it comes to like Tears of the Kingdom, what it added to Breath of the Wild, I like that more because I like the Zonai like style that was added to it. But I just appreciate and like respect where it all started in 2017 with this art style, and that we were able to like grow from it and evolve with it
Yeah.
into Tears, into Age of Calamity, into Age of Imprisonment. Like, I'm here for it. And like you mentioned, yeah, sure, we might be getting a little tired of it. I think that's just because like if we get something, another thing in this art style again, that would be kind of like too much of a good thing. But I feel
Yeah.
like we're in a sweet spot where we can like move on and, like you said, look back at it fondly. So this is definitely an easy 5. It paved the way for the Switch Zelda's art style.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like this art style, like Zelda Wii U was revealed in 2014, so like we are past 10 years of this art style. So I'd like, yeah, there's appetite for change, no matter what.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that this is just like a very classic art style that you can like continually go back to. Like it reminds me a lot of Ocarina of Time. Like in my mind, actually, like if the graphical capabilities would have been there in 1998, this is basically what Ocarina of Time would have looked like.
Hmm. I'm also like, part of me is so comfortable in this art style that I'm a little scared of like what we'll get next 3D wise.
Hmm.
Like obviously with 2D and Echoes of Wisdom, it was cute and we were like it was fun, but there wasn't as much stakes in it that there
Right.
is for the next 3D art style. So I am a little scared of change, but I trust Nintendo to give us good change because I feel like every art style in its own way has been something that I've come to love no matter what.
Hmm.
Even Twilight Princess being as ugly as it is, I still love it, you know? So I'm eager to see what they do next, if not a little scared.
Yeah, well, last thing about the art style, a lot of people I think are still like really like wanting them to do that Wii U tech demo art style. I actually hope that they don't. Like that was just a little bit too realistic for me. I do like personally like a little bit more like style mixed with like realistic graphics, and I think that this art style really does a good job of that. So
Hmm.
I'm kind of with you. I'm very curious to see what the next game will end up looking like.
Hmm.
But yeah, for now, definitely an easy 5. Let's go to the story. This is the
Ugh.
one that could be a bit contentious here.
Yeah.
Um, I think that I think that I'm gonna play it safe here, Al, and go kind of right down the middle. I think I'm gonna give it a
Hmm.
3.
Hmm.
Um, Breath of the Wild has really great character moments. Like I really like the story between Mifa and between Link. I really like the story of Zelda and Link. I think that the story of Zelda and her father are is a good one. And I like kind of the 4 champions like in general. They're kind of like coming together and becoming a team a little bit, and like some of those micro stories I like as well. Like kind of like Riju kind of like becoming this chief of the Gerudo, or Sidon kind of like overcoming what happened to Mifa, and just his personality. I even like kind of like the little like Yiga clan stuff as well. Like I think that is pretty cool, and I think that the game does a really good job of just kind of like giving you story just throughout the world as well. Like you see in the Gerudo Desert, what's that area with like the big statues with all the swords and stuff like that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like the 7 or 8
Yeah,
eight maidens
exactly.
or whatever they're called. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Like that, I'm just like, that's so cool. Like that's a really awesome like little wrinkle there. Or like, how did this forest become cursed in darkness? Or so like there's like lots of individual like really great story moments in this game, What it's missing is a cohesive narrative to glue everything together the right way.
Mm.
I think that Calamity Ganon is like a terribly indefined character. I mean it is like it's just it's a bunch of smoke and mist and malice flying around. I think that we could have used some definition there. I think we could have used some clarity, like what the heck was actually happening for that 100 years between the events of old and the events of present, like with Zelda. Like, what is she doing? I think that unfortunately, due to the game, like you're like the way that it's laid out, like you can just literally go right to Calamity Ganon, so you don't have a lot of like the big kind of like first act, second act, third act kind of like set pieces and stuff like that. You can have them if you choose to, but like I think that the way that that was designed does kind of take away a little bit from from how that would typically filter into a story. So yeah, and like the I don't know, the final boss I felt like was just kind of like okay as well. There's a lot of stuff in the lore that we've talked about for years that I wish we had a little bit more clarity on. Divine beasts, and stuff like that. Like I think it's inconsistent how Ganon is able to control all these stuff now but wasn't before. So there is a lot of stuff that I'm really left wanting for the story of Breath of the Wild, but there is a lot of good stuff that they do as well. So I think right in the middle is probably where I go.
Uh, I'm gonna try so hard to not get into anything with you
The
about
Doom of
anything.
Mandos. Ah.
Um, I just I feel like maybe in the future one of our Middle Earth the podcast episodes could be a comparison between Morgoth's corruption and Calamity Ganon's corruption because I think they're very similar. And
Maybe you could.
I'd love to give you an essay about it, but that's a story for another day. Anyways, I was thinking too, but for the story because I like this. I'm sorry. I know I keep comparing the Tears of the Kingdom. It's really hard not to. I really like the story in Tears of the Kingdom. I think they took it up a notch and as far as giving us a really compelling story. So, but at the same time, I want to like go back to Breath of the Wild and say that even though it wasn't in order or cohesive, which is something I hate about Tears of the Kingdom, I feel like it worked so much better in Breath of the Wild. I feel like this memory system, as far as like reawakening Link's own thoughts and memories, and it made more sense, and that the events that were happening, it wasn't like I could go boom, see Sonia die, first memory, you know what I mean? it
Yes.
was it was a lot of like Zelda and Link's
It's just like
relationship
little
memories,
moments here and there.
right?
It wasn't like a
And like,
narrative.
right. So I felt like it worked so much better in Breath of the Wild, and I was really hoping that it would stay there in Breath of the Wild. And I know it wasn't the same for same in Tears, but like it was just like it was kind of the same gimmick, I guess I should say. I want to say Breath of the Wild did it a lot better in that it makes sense in the bubble of Breath of the Wild. So I went up to a 3 because of that. I was going to give it a 2.
Hmm.
I think the overall story makes a lot of sense. Um I agree that the boss fight at the end kind of was like, meh, it's okay. But like I like the teamwork and camaraderie with Zelda, knowing she's there helping you fight
Hmm.
Dark Beast Ganon and stuff, and that the souls of the champions are helping you fight Calamity Ganon, and so I like all these things, and I agree that what you said, like all these little tidbits of small stories within, are really good. So I think I will also play it safe and say 3.
I will say this. I think that one of the biggest crimes that Breath of the Wild commits is it tells and it doesn't show, particularly with the champions. I like, speaking of Lord of the Rings, what's one of the greatest scenes in Fellowship of the Rings, or Fellowship of the Ring? It's
So
like what in my I immediately think of like the scene where Boromir falls defending the
mhm,
hobbits, right?
yeah,
Where was that scene with our four champions?
yeah, we
I'm
didn't
not saying
even.
that we need to see them like get their limbs ripped off, but like let's see their heroic sacrifice, right? Like because we
You
never
know,
got that.
I agree with you, and I totally thought that's what we were gonna get in Age
Age
of
of
Calamity.
Calamity,
And then
yeah,
for like a split second, we did get that where we did see them all almost die, and then of course it was like ripped away by
yes,
their funny gimmick, time travel gimmick that they put in there. But like that's something that I wanted from Age of Calamity, and we were so close to having it
yeah,
because they did do those scenes where they were fighting the blights and were falling. They were
Yeah.
dying.
Yeah, and like I think too, like I whatever, you'll probably hate this, but like I think that we were missing like a villain in Breath of the Wild. Like I know that we had Calamity Ganon, but like it was just this essence that was in the sky. Like there was no characterization, and I thought that that Koga was going to be that guy that almost like Asterd was in Age of Calamity, where he was supposed to be like the harbinger or something like that. I thought Koga was going to be that guy. He was kind of a goof, which took me a while to kind of get over. But I feel like we were missing like a villain to root against there, because like you just had this ethereal dust floating around Hyrule Castle, which looked really cool, but
I feel like I could somewhat agree with you. It wasn't very present, whereas like in Tears, you keep coming across like Phantom Ganon, and you're
yeah,
like, "Oh, this is a problem that I have to
yes,
take care of coming up soon." Whereas like you just know Calamity Ganon's kind of over there, and he's not like the only way he's really haunting your every step is just all the monsters and
hmm,
the corrupted machines. So like I kind of get where you're coming from, and it didn't give like as much urgency to the game. I guess I would say that something wasn't like haunting your every step.
yeah, and again, it's kind of the way that the game is designed too. But I also do feel like it just kind of takes away from it's just like, well, I guess I could go fight the final boss like literally right now whenever I want to,
Hmm.
you know. So,
Hmm.
yeah, the story is a 3. I talked myself up from a 2 as well, actually, but
Yeah.
because there is some good stuff there, but it's not one of the better narratives in the Zelda
Now,
series.
are we when we definitively rank Breath of the Wild? Are we including DLC?
Sure, yeah.
I feel like we've definitively ranked the DLC separately, didn't we?
We might have. I don't know.
Who knows?
We could just. I mean, this is our show, Al. We could do whatever we want.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
So include the DLC.
I don't
I
think that
like
makes a difference for me, to be honest.
you don't like the little addition to the into the champions that we got.
Well, I do, but again, it's just kind of more of the same. It's like more of these nice little character snapshots, right? Like it's not like
Right.
there's a like again like so in the story of the Champions Ballad, there's a fifth divine beast. Like what? Like,
Hmm.
but that's just kind of like totally glossed over because it's like, well, we just need a dungeon, so like here's a fifth divine beast, and it's never mentioned again. So
Hmm.
to me, it's just kind of like, well, okay, like that's kind of what I'm looking for in terms of like the story. You know what I mean? Like why is there a fifth divine beast? Like
Well,
that kind of stuff.
uh-huh. I thought it was explained that so the divine beasts were all tests for the champions, and the fifth one was a test for Link, the fifth
Yeah,
champion.
yeah. I don't know. To me like the DLC is very fun. I really like the DLC. Everyone knows I love Monk Mask Kashia, but
Yeah.
I it doesn't change how I feel about the story. I don't think.
And there, I would say, like, even though we did get some additions to the characters, I would feel like the only person that I really got to know was maybe Urbosa. I feel
Yeah.
like everybody, like, Daruk was probably had the least, like, any kind of character development or
No, he's
anything.
afraid of dogs.
Yeah. And then Mifa was fine. She was more concerned. She was more like, I need to make sure my brother's prepared in case I'm gone.
Yeah.
That, which you know is very Mifa. But I wanted to get to know, like, I wanted to feel Mifa more, you know, like, I don't know. And then, like, Rivali, I know there's a chip on his shoulder. I want to know why. We didn't get why. But we
Hmm.
did get to see him struggle with his self-doubt. And then, but then Urbosa is just like, you learn more that she was best friends with Zelda's mother and that she helped raise Zelda and that Zelda's probably the most important thing to her in the world. And yeah, I really liked Urbosa's like extra story, and that's how we got to know more about her background, but not really about the others, I would say.
Yeah.
But
Um. I mean, like I said, like I don't know if it impacts the score for you. It doesn't for me.
I would say probably not.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's go to pacing and progression. This is a difficult one for Breath of the Wild, I feel like. Um,
Yeah.
Pacing and progression is kind of one of those things that, like, you don't necessarily notice it if it's good. But if you do notice it when it's bad. So, like, when you are. I'm going to pick on old Phantom Hourglass here. But we talked last week about how, like, you continually need to go back again and again and again to Temple of the Ocean King. Or, you know what, in Wind Waker, when you need to do the Triforce quest, and it just, like, grinds that game to a halt. Or another good example is in the opening of Twilight Princess, or in the latter portion of Twilight Princess, right before City in the Sky. That kind of stuff where it's just like, okay, this keeps us moving at a crisp pace from destination to destination to destination. That's tougher in Breath of the Wild because like you could just really make it whatever you want it to be.
I would say that sure, you could make it whatever you want it to be, but let's say you play the game intentionally,
Mm-hmm.
and as it is made to be played. I would feel like the pacing progression is actually pretty decent.
I would
I
too.
want to say I'm gonna say a 4. And again, this might be some of my speed running coming in, but I have sped run this game, and it's a pretty quick succession game.
Mm-hmm.
You literally go from one spot to the other. You get little story bits. You get your before the dungeon tasks. You do your dungeon, and then you go off and do the next one.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're just playing a standard Zelda game, I feel like that's just like really solid. There wasn't too many dungeons for me. Obviously, you guys know I love dungeons, but not a lot of dungeons. And then you go to Hyrule Castle, and like that's its own kind of dungeon, and then you beat the game. And I don't know, I just thought like story beat wise and dungeon wise, the pacing and progression is actually pretty solid in Breath of the Wild.
I'm actually with you. I was I was setting it up to say like it's hard to rank it in a game like Breath of the Wild. But that being said, like I'm gonna give it a 5 actually.
Okay.
Because I kind of agree. Like I think that there is always something like for you to do. Like you can always go. You're never stuck anywhere, right? Like if
Hmm.
you like honestly, like if you go from the Great Plateau and you just go straight to Gerudo Desert, for example, and you try and do the Yiga clan hideout, and you find that you're not like quite up to snuff. Like you can go do some shrines, you can go to another divine beast, you can go do like all of this other stuff. Like I feel like pacing and progression for me, maybe this is just kind of my scale of how it works, but like when I feel like I don't know where to go, or I have something that I know I need to do but I can't do it because I'm like under leveled, and there's not really like a clear way to get more like level or experience or health or whatever have you, right? Without just like literally stopping what I'm doing and grinding enemies. That lowers down the pacing and progression to me. And like I can't say that I ever experienced that in Breath of the Wild. There's always like another shrine for you to find. There's always like solutions if you're feeling underleveled. You can cook something. Like you can. The world is your oyster. So like I do feel like you can kind of make this what you want it to be. Like your pacing and progression. If you just want to do kind of like a run where you do the Great Plateau, the 4 Divine Beasts, get the Master Sword, and go to Hyrule Castle, you can do that. If you want to do like the 100%, and you could do that as well. So I feel like because of that, for me, like this is a 5 actually.
Okay, fair enough. I I guess a lot of that makes sense to me. I don't often consider like a lot of the side stuff. Like I would consider maybe the side stuff being shrines and stuff like that
Hmm.
as part of the pacing, because in this instant you could choose not to do it. But then as you were talking, I was like, oh yeah, there is a bunch of other stuff where they are guiding you as much as they do in tiers. So like
Yeah.
you're on the plateau, they tell you to do the plateau. Then the king tells you to go over the Kakariko. Then Impa tells you to go do the divine beast. Then when you finish up with the divine beast, they're like, go to the castle. In the middle of that, they're like, by the way, where's your master sword? You could go get that maybe. And that definitely takes some like doing shrines. So you're like, I gotta do some shrines on my way there. So like I agree with you. There's always something to do. I'm gonna keep myself at a 4. Uh just I don't know. Something's keeping me from doing it at 5. I can't quite put my finger on it though.
I'll allow it. I'll
Okay.
allow it, Al. All right. Gameplay and combat. Let's have you lead us off here, Al. What do you think?
I'm gonna say 5. I think how do I put my thoughts into words? I think it's pretty obvious that this is like combat heavy. There's a lot of like different hordes to fight. There's different bosses with the divine beasts and the blights. There's different sub bosses with the Hinox, the Talus, the Lionels. There, and then it's like a rinse and repeat too because of the blood moon. And I like that the combat has different styles depending on what weapons or shields or bows you use.
Hmm.
So I think that adds like some strategy and some interest into it. I know people hate the item or the weapon breaking, but
Breakable
I think it's
weapons,
like a
yeah.
yeah, I think it's actually just a clever way of keeping you from just using the same thing the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that the gameplay too, as far as like utilizing the shrines to teach you how to do things and interact with the world, as well as like leveling yourself up, is also just like a really good way to keep up the pacing and progression in the game. So I don't know, like overall, it's just like a stellar video game with gameplay and combat. So I'm gonna say 5.
I'm with you. I'm a 5. Um, I mean, I think like you look at like magnesis, you look at like all of
I was
those
trying.
abilities. Frankly,
Yeah, I was trying not to talk about that yet because we had like with items, that's more of an item thing for me. So I was trying not to like go there. But yeah,
yeah,
you're right.
like
You're
the
right.
way that like impacts the world though, like it's hard to separate that from the gameplay.
Hmm.
So I like that right there, and frankly, like I just feel like it sounds silly, but like Zelda games, you couldn't really jump, you couldn't really crawl, you couldn't really like climb a lot of this stuff before. So I think that the way that this game just kind of like redefines the gameplay of Zelda, where it's just like literally go anywhere, do anything, climb anything. I think that that is like so incredibly strong. Um, yeah, like the breakable weapons can be annoying for sure. But I do kind of appreciate the fact that like it does kind of keep you continually cycling through like different weapons and stuff like that. I think it would have been pretty easy just to get the Master Sword and only use that for the rest of the game.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I
and
do kind of
I feel
appreciate
like
that.
that's something that they were also trying to keep us from doing in like Echoes with the sword fighter form, like
Yeah,
like
yeah,
keeping it limited. And like, is that kind of annoying? Yes, but I also appreciate it because I can get lazy and just use the master sword. I could get lazy and just use sword fighter form.
yeah,
It's much more fun to think strategically and like how to put your like how to combine your weapons and shields, and also like with the different enemies. Like that a spear might be better for Lizalfos because they like to do
yeah,
longer, what
yeah,
is it?
totally.
Farther apart fighting or whatever, or maybe you need a heavy hitter when you're fighting a Lionel, so it makes more fun to be more like strategic.
I feel like I know the answer to this, but have you ever played the Batman Arkham games?
No.
Oh, okay, I didn't think so. So in those games, there's like this thing that you can put on called detective mode, and it basically like highlights all the enemies and like highlights all like the points of interest and stuff like that. It's great to use, but like the downfall is like you have no incentive to ever take it off. So like
Mm.
you don't end up seeing a lot of the world. You just see kind of like the highlighted like points of interest and stuff like that. So like that's
Hmm.
kind of what I mean. Like it would have been easy just to have like that one like sword fighter form in Echoes is a great example. Like you could have just easily stayed in there, but it kind of just takes away from the fun a little bit. I feel like so.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is a pretty actually easy 5. I think for me.
Hmm. I agree.
Okay, items and abilities. So yeah, there's magnesis. There's God, I can never. Is it cryonis or cryosis?
Cryonis.
Cryonis. I always want to call it cryosis. I don't know why. At least I got it right the first time. I mean, like all of those, like all of those abilities are just like literal game changing abilities. There's like there's a ton of like other items I guess in the game, like weapons and stuff like that you can select from. But I mean honestly, like I think that Breath of the Wild really kind of gets a lot of its mileage out of your core abilities, and like the game is built around those abilities, and the way that those abilities are like continually like reimagined, and the different ideas and different ways that you can use those abilities are pretty impressive in this game. I don't have a score in mind yet, Al. I was curious to hear what your thoughts were before I signed a score.
I want to say for me, I was gonna give
I
because I
have a
was trying
score
to
in
think of
mind,
like
but
I was trying to think of like anything beyond the runes, and like obviously you have all the different types of weapons. You have like I don't know if you consider like all the stuff that you could forage an item and then make food out of. But usually when I think of items in Breath of the Wild, I think of the runes, and
mhm.
I would say like sure there are like three like game breaking new powers with the runes, but like also some of it is just bombs. So I
True.
was gonna say 4. Because yeah, we were innovative with these items and kind of gave you them all right off the bat so you could utilize them in your world. But it's just slightly you also just get bombs.
Mhm.
I don't know, like I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, but it was just kind of like, oh, here's some three new awesome things, and then bombs.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, they were no stasis, you know, like they were no
Mhm. They're useful.
even
They were. I would say they were awesome and useful in Breath of the Wild. Even though I love the bomb flowers and tears, they were kind of hard to come by. So like,
yeah.
you had to figure out your own bombing situation because all of a sudden you didn't have it on your slate anymore. You know.
I would even say like Cryonis is kind of like not as exciting as like Stasis and God, the other one, Magnesis. I
Yeah.
was kind of thinking like a 4 as well. And I'm
Mhm.
glad that you said that because I think I might have been talked down to a 3, but I think I am going to go with a 4 because
Mhm.
I do think that the amount of usage that you get out of like particularly Stasis and Magnesis is so like impressive in this game, and the way that you can apply those abilities in like shrines, I think is like very very impressive.
Mhm.
And bombs for that matter too. Like there are some fun, you know, puzzles that you can do with bombs. So like, I think that the utility of them is really incredible. But yeah, it's not like you have a lot of other items to really contend with. Like you kind of have your swords, your spears, your shields, yeah, a couple magic wands, and that's kind of it. Unless
I
I'm
would
missing
love
anything, I
to.
guess bows, of course, as well.
I would love to go back in time with my Tears of the Kingdom ranking. I gave it a 4, but like now that I'm thinking about it, there were so many other things that you got besides like the arm abilities and stuff. Like you got all those different types of like mushrooms that you could throw into battle and like fuse people or create a cloud of dust, or like there was so many different like and like the different like temperatured fruits or whatever so that you could combine them to your so that you could be creative instead of just going and finding an ice wand somewhere.
Hmm.
So like I'll go back in time and say Tears is a 5 for items, but I'm going to say Breath of the Wild is still a 4. And like
Yeah.
Chair 2 is saying the depths are a great source of bomb flowers, which is true, but I know a few people who do not like exploring the depths. And so
Hmm.
they didn't really like going to get bomb flowers. There was the way to duplicate bomb flowers for a while. I don't know if it's still available. They might have
I'm sure
patched
it's
it.
gone. I'm sure it's gone. You know, Devil's Advocate as well, though. To talk up the items from Breath of the Wild, I think that this is probably where you include like all the different outfits and stuff like that, because I don't know where else they go in this
Mhm.
definitive ranking, and that was a really cool thing. Like I really really enjoyed collecting the outfits and upgrading
Mhm.
them and stuff like that. So like I like again, I don't know where else to put that, but I did want to mention it, and I think that that is like a really strong thing that Breath of the Wild did as well. So,
Mhm.
um, I feel comfortable with a 4.
Okay, cool.
All right, dungeons
Oof. Okay, are we including
here.
the DLC dungeon?
We're including the DLC dungeon, yes. Now,
Okay.
now the real kicker here, Al, is are we giving any consideration to shrines? Because like if we are, that changes
Did we
things.
did we for tiers? I don't know if we did.
I don't know if we did either.
I don't know if I would count shrines as dungeons.
I guess like
I
what do you
understand
count them as?
puzzles, side
Wow.
content.
Okay. Okay.
I wouldn't count. I don't think I would count them as dungeons because I feel like for both games that's kind of an unfair advantage.
Fair. Okay. So this is just going to be the Divine Beasts, Hyrule Castle. That's pretty much it.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, you could, you know, I if you were to make an argument to me and say like, you know what, Eventide Island feels like a dungeon, I could accept that.
Yeah, that's fair. Yep. I don't know.
Ah, do you have a score?
I'm gonna say, oof. I'm like oscillating between a 2 and a 3. I want to say maybe 3 because of the Divine Beast in the DLC. That might be what bumps it up. Because as fun as the Divine Beasts were in the initial playthrough, I feel like afterwards, once you know the puzzles, and I mean, you could say this about any Zelda game, but just like they're so easy to manipulate and to cheese in Breath of the Wild compared to like other Zelda games, even Tears of the Kingdom. They're I don't know. It's like hard to say that because you could say it about other Zelda games. Like once you play a dungeon, you know the dungeon and blah blah blah. But like some of the dungeons are so intricate and long that I don't remember stuff to do in other Zelda games. I could just like breeze through these divine beasts because all you have to do is like activate 5 nodules and then go to the top and fight the
Hmm.
boss. And sure, some of the puzzles were fun and creative, but like the environments all felt and looked the same. Um, the activating like one of the nodes and then having the champion be like, "Great job, 4 left," was kind of annoying on every single dungeon.
Hmm.
Um, when it got to the last divine beast, it was like it felt so like a culmination of everything you've done. Each room felt a little bit different, felt a little bit more original, felt a little bit more exciting. So I'm that's kind of what's bringing it up to a 3 for me. I don't know if I'm like being very eloquent, but like it's just hard to describe these dungeons. Like they were fun at first, but then after that, I was just like, I don't really like replaying these dungeons.
Let me give you my interpretation of these dungeons. Um, if I'm replaying Skyward Sword, I can't wait till I get to the Sand Ship or till I get to
Yeah,
the
there you
Ancient
go.
Cistern because those are
That's a
really
good way to
fun
put it.
dungeons.
Yeah,
If
that's a good
I'm
way to put it.
replaying Twilight Princess, I'm like, I am stoked to go into Arbiter's Grounds because that is just a great even though I know what to do. I know what to do and I know where to go. But it's just like, I love this dungeon. The music is great. The aesthetic is great. The puzzles are fun. I love the dungeon. There's not a single dungeon that I really love in Breath of the Wild. I hate to say, I would say this, to be honest with you, even the final Divine Beast, like the DLC, I'm excited to go there for the boss battle. I'm not excited necessarily for like the dungeon itself.
Hmm.
I really dislike the like 5 gate and key system that permeates through each divine beast. I think that it could have. I don't know. I guess I just feel like it takes away from the experience. And like, yes, like the idea is there that you can do it in any kind of order, and that's very fitting with like the what Breath of the Wild is going for, where they want you to be in complete control over how you play the game. But I think that really works to the detriment of the dungeons here because they don't feel. And the other thing too is like aesthetically, all of them feel the same. Like all of
Hmm.
them feel the same. Mechanically, all of them have the same kind of gimmick where you need to rotate or you need to alter the divine beast itself. Um, there's not really a whole lot that really kind of makes each like in any of them stick out. Like like I said, like when I play Ocarina of Time, I'm like, yes, time for the Forest Temple. When I play Breath of the Wild, I'm just like, I can't wait to re-explore
Hmm.
Hebra or whatever, right? But like, I'm not just like, oh, I can't wait to get to Va Meadow and sail around and activate my 4 laptops to open up the door to the boss.
Hmm.
Um, even
I
Hyrule
love.
Castle is not like Hyrule Castle is a great dungeon, but even that it's like it's kind of a dungeon, kind of not a dungeon, a little
Hmm.
bit. So like that one to
But
me,
at least with Hyrule Castle, you have way more to explore. You can discover new things
yes,
every time because you might have forgotten a room or whatever. There aren't like 5 terminals that you have to activate. I would say that
That's
Hyrule
true.
Castle is
That's
definitely
true.
a highlight dungeon in Breath of the Wild. I don't want to negate that. But like
I
the
don't want to
rest,
undersell it either, but I'm just saying like
yeah.
it's an incredible dungeon, but it's a different style of dungeon that to me
Hmm.
like I think I was still, especially because you see it in the shrines, like you see all these incredible puzzles and stuff like that you can do, and like there's keys and kind of traditional like Zelda dungeons, and I wish that at some point in Breath of the Wild that could have been implemented into the game. I think Tears did a much better job with its dungeons than Breath of the
Hmm.
Wild did. Now I do give some grace to Breath of the Wild because it's certainly trying a new approach to dungeons, but I'm going to give it a 2. I don't think it necessarily worked. If we were including shrines, this would be very different,
Hmm.
but I get why we're not. So yeah, I'm going to give him a 2.
Hmm. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. I'm gonna stick with my 3 just because there were some highlights like Hyrule Castle, Fifth Divine Beast, but
All right.
yeah, I think this is a universal thing too. Is people are like, ah, the Divine Beast, like give us better dungeons and tiers, you know?
Yeah, and you know what? Like I think they did. Like I think Tears did deliver better dungeons, but they're not perfect. There's
Right.
still it's still the lock and key, like the 5 locks that get you to the final boss, but it's just dressed up a little bit better. I really did love
Hmm.
the fire dungeon in the fire temple in Tears of the Kingdom. I thought that dungeon was so awesome.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
All right, bosses and enemies. What do you think, Al?
I think this is a 4 because there's a really oh mate, no, I'm gonna go down to a 3. Um, I was gonna say there's like a really fun variety. The only reason it loses points is because it just like it's a rinse and repeat. With the blood moon just resuscitating everything that you've already killed. I
Hmm.
think like the moblins are fun, the bokoblins are fun, Lizalfos, taluses are hella fun, Hinoxes, you've got the Moldulga, the Lionels. Like I think that like adds to the world, but at the same time, you just like keep rehashing the same fights.
Yeah,
And then the reason I started with 4 is I was like, the bosses are great too, but then I was like, well, are they though?
they're
I mean, they're
not.
fun. They're
I don't
fun
think.
in their own ways, but at the end of the day, they all feel the same.
I would think. So I'm gonna give it a 3 as well. I was thinking about a 2, but I'm not gonna do that. I will not do that to us here.
Mhm.
But as you correctly point out, like the actual amount of enemies in this game are like very very few. And you just kind of keep getting like the different colors as you go up. Now, the
Yeah.
enemies that are in the game, I think, are great, and they're design grade. Like I think the Lionel fights are great. Talus is a great, but like eventually it does kind of run its course a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the boss fights necessarily take it to another level either. I think that the Koga fight is really fun. I think that's a
Koga
fun
fight
fight.
is so. You know what? I'm surprised to hear you say that because I thought you. Maybe it's just the Koga himself that you thought was
Yes, that
goofy.
that was it. The Koga
Okay.
fight I think is fun. Koga the character, I was just like, ugh. Yeah.
I
But
well,
even
part
then,
of it
I've
is
kind of
like
started to warm around to Koga a little bit.
yeah, his fight is so fun because he's so goofy. Like he's just hilarious, and
Yeah.
he's just a fool. So that's what makes his fight so fun.
I
Um,
think that the Thunderblight fight is really really good.
it's yeah, Thunderblight is insane.
Yeah.
That's insanity. Um, there are times when I like would be speedrunning, and there are ways to get to demolish these bots. Like I can defeat Thunderblight in like less than a minute, but it's all about timing. And if you get rocked, you get rocked by Thunderblight,
Yeah.
by Fireblight. So like they can be tough. I remember back in the day, back in my streaming days, I actually had my brothers come over and play Breath of the Wild with no like prior experience to playing this game or many Zelda games for that matter. But like it was fun to watch them like just keep dying to the blights. Like so they can I can understand that they can be tough, but at the same time, they all just have very similar vibes because they're just a blight of Ganon that like,
I
you
think
know,
yes and no.
yeah.
I thought that Thunderblight really stood out for me. I do feel kind of like the other three are pretty interchangeable. Like I thought that like Wind Blight and Water Blight and Fire like those guys were just kind of like ho hum fights. Like there was nothing special about them. I don't like every time I look at Calamity Ganon, I'm just like, what the hell is this? Like, what is this mechanical thing? Like it again, and it kind of goes back to the story, but it's like what is this? Like why does it look like this? Like what I don't know. Like every time I'm just like, okay. And I don't think the fight is great. I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's great either. I like the aesthetic of the Dark Beast Ganon fight, but that fight itself is like, you know, a complete joke. Monkama's Kashia is why I'm giving this a 3
Fair.
instead of
Okay.
a 2. Like that's just an absolutely incredible boss fight. I love that boss fight so much. I think it's so cool. I love the setting. I love the character design. I love the fight. But I think that's your only truly great boss fight in this entire game. And we have a high bar to match here for other Zelda games. Like
Yeah,
I think
that's true.
like each Zelda game you could probably pick out one fight and it's just like that's a great boss fight if not multiple, right? Like
Hmm.
so I do think that when you have a collection of like fairly like ho hum kind of boss fights and fun enemies, but enemies that do get recycled a lot. I think a 3 is probably as high as I can go. I do like we didn't mention the Guardians, but like that is a great new
Oh yeah,
enemy
the
that this game
Guardians.
introduces as well.
Hmm. Very true. Very
Never to
true.
be seen again after Breath of the Wild. They're gone.
It's so funny how I'm like in such disagreement with you about Calamity Ganon, but like I do the same thing when it comes to the Sheikah technology in Tears of the Kingdom. So like part of me gets it, but part of me is like I just disagree with you so much.
Well, that's okay. It's not the first, and it wasn't the last time, Al. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, very true. Moving on.
What did you give this? You gave it a
Three.
three?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I give it a three as well. Side content and extras, man, this is such a five. This is such a five.
Okay.
I'd
If
like.
we're counting the shrines,
Yeah, I mean, I think we are. Like, we got to include them
okay.
at some point.
Yeah, then I would be okay with, well, oh, okay, this is hard. Because some of the side content and extra, like the side quests, are just fetch quests.
Sure.
And so it's hard for me to be like solid five when I'm like, when I think of like Tears of the Kingdom and how many really awesome like extra side quests they gave. Even though they gave us a bunch of like fetch quests, I didn't give Tears a perfect score either. But like we just had some like really intricate side quests in that game, and when I try to think of intricate side quests in Breath of the Wild, I mean I can only come up with maybe a couple.
Oh, come on. There's a lot of
Maybe you
like
have to
really good
refresh my
quests.
memory.
I mean, Eventide immediately comes to mind as well. There's, I mean, off the top of my head, I feel like I also can't think of like particular like quests and stuff like
It's been a
that.
long
But
time
like,
since we played this game.
it's been a while, yeah. But I feel like just the shrines, like finding the shrines in the world, like some of the puzzles that you get to unlock the shrines. Like again, in Tears of the Kingdom, you have shrine puzzles or shrine quests, but they're literally just like take the green shrine, like the green orb to where it needs to go. You think of the amount of like going through the dark forest in Breath of the Wild, or that the eight statues that we talked about earlier, or like the Thunder Helm like area. Like there are so many,
Mhm.
or like rolling the snowballs down in Hebra. Like there are so many intricate and amazing side quests, and that's before you even step foot into a shrine. Like I think that the amount that there is for you to do, like you're right, there's a lot of shrine quests and stuff like that, or a lot of like fetch quests, but you don't have to do those. Like for me,
Mhm.
I've never gotten all the Koroks in this game, and I never will, because I'm just like, that is not my jam. I'm not doing it. I don't care. But the fact that they're there, the fact that you can do that, the fact that almost every place that you go, every little area in this entire game is just like so filled with secrets and stuff for you to do if you choose to, I think is like just how could you not give this a five?
Well, and I mean, I would. My conscience is like, I only gave Tears a four. You know, I don't know, like, and it's like very much a lot of it is the same. Where like there's the fetch quest, but there's also like the really cool, in-depth, interactive side quests. You have more shrines than you do in Breath, so you like have a similar, bar to equivalent there. You have like you have it's hard because I have so much recency bias, I guess, that it's like clouding my memory of like all the side stuff of Breath of the Wild. Even though I clearly loved it enough to play this game at full at least four times. So I think I'm just gonna give it a four because my conscience won't let me give it a five.
That's ridiculous. That is
It's
insane.
like there's just like there's some stuff where it's just like sure it's extra, you don't have to do it, but like then why is it there? You know?
I I guess I
You're
can
like, I'll never do the
completely.
Koroks, but you're still gonna give the side content a five?
Yeah, I completely disagree with that. Like you have 150 shrines in this game that all have like exceptional puzzles, or puzzles to get into those shrines. Like I think like what else are you looking for? You have all of these outfits that you can go and collect. You have all of this like side content that you could do, like these really good quests that you could do. I mean, like
Well, what did you give
we
Tears
build.
then?
I don't remember, but it was
You don't
probably
have it
high
written down
as.
for me?
No, I don't remember. But here's the thing about Tears. Like I could see myself giving it less than that because it just copied Breath of the Wild's homework. Like that's kind of what it did in the world. Like I mean, we didn't even talk about like building Terrytown or building Link's house or like anything like that. Like there is so much that you can do in this game. Like I just I don't know. I have a hard time hearing an argument for anything but a five.
I mean, when you talk about the shrines too, where it's like, sure, there's shrine quests, and then you just take a crystal to, but you could say that with like some of the blessings in Breath of the Wild. You just go in and you fight one guardian, and then you go and there's a blessing.
Sure,
Or
but I think like what you do to actually like get even the shrines that you just go in and you're immediately rewarded like right there by not having to do anything, you still have to do something hard or challenging in order to even step foot into that shrine. Is I guess my point. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a total. I think it's a total five for me. I respect what you are saying here, Al, but I don't know if I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I'm buying what you're saying here. So yes. All right. We have we have one category left here as Al is coming back into as Al is
okay,
coming back in
I'm
here.
back.
All
Let me
right.
just let me
Did you have
let me
anything
just
you
have
want to
one
put a
more
bow on there
justification.
before we move on?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I do. I just oh shoot, I had it, and then you were like, you're frozen, and it went out of my brain. But like,
I
I
did that
just
intentionally actually.
yeah, I was probably just fine.
Yeah.
Um, okay, I think I was trying to remember what it was about Tears that made me not give it a five because I feel like if I give one a five, I would have to give the other a five because they're both so similar in what they deliver, and what they also deliver is maybe too much. There's just too much sometimes. And I know you
I
said
think
you don't
Tears
have
is
to.
too much. Yes, I agree with you.
You've said like you don't have to do it, and I'm like, but then what's the point of having it there? You know what I mean?
I get that. I totally get that. I guess what I'm saying, I feel like Tears was too much. Like that was content for the sake of content. I think Breath of the Wild was like enough, or it didn't feel gratuitous, but there still was
I
like
mean, I'm
some
looking at the side
stuff.
quest list, and it's just as long.
Sure, but I like what I'm saying is like you still had that kind of excitement in exploring this world and doing this. Like I think that it's different. Like if you have a quest in Breath of the Wild in 2017 or 2018 to go and collect 10 restless crickets, you're still exploring this world for the first time and you're just like, oh man, I'm just like I've never been to this corner of the world before. I'm picking up some crickets along the way. By the time that you get to Tears of the Kingdom in 2023, I have explored this world from top to bottom, and I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, I remember this this little part of the forest here. Here's my crickets. Let's move on to the next thing. Like that. That's kind of what I mean. Where I think it's the advantage of Breath of the Wild that it came first.
I
You
mean,
don't have to agree with that, but that's how I feel.
I can understand that, but I think it counterbalances that by having like Sky Island quests or depths quests or whatever, so that there is new content for you to explore.
I'm not talking about Tears of the Kingdom. I'm talking about Breath of the Wild.
I know, but I just feel like there was a reason I didn't give Tears of. If I'm giving, ugh, I can't even talk. If I'm giving Breath of the Wild five, I would have to go back in time and give Tears a five. I just feel like there's too much of like these little things that you don't need, and that's the only reason it's going down to a four.
All right. I think that's insane, but okay. Okay.
Hey,
Al, we have one left. Are you ready? We have the music
yeah,
to talk about. Is this a
I feel like
contentious one?
it was contentious when it was Tears, but I have a feeling that you're fine with it in Breath of the Wild because it came first.
I think you're right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think when this game released, actually, I probably wouldn't have been as kind as I'm going to be today because I it did take me a while to kind of like I guess appreciate the style, like the ambiance of the music here, because it's very different. Like it's very background than what we're used to here.
Hmm.
I think enough time though has passed. I'm gonna give it a five, Al. I was sitting at my computer last night and I was humming the. I didn't even know what I was humming, but I was like, Sam asked me, she's like, "What is that?" And I was like, "I think that's Satano Village." So I was just sitting there like humming it, and I mean, you go along the list, and like there really is like just a lot of like really great music that this game has, including the all timer Monk Maskashia.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I do think that there's like a lot of just like really tranquil, peaceful music. Like the Korok theme, I think is great. Like just, I mean, go down the list, right? Like, it took me a while to, I think, to appreciate this. I bet you if you were to listen to episodes from 2018 or 19, you'd probably hear me say like I didn't think the music was very strong. But I think I've come around.
I think I was initially kind of in the same boat where I was just like, oh, I don't know about this. Like, ambiance feel. But like I think I quickly got over that and I was fine with it and I love the music from Breath of the Wild. I recently had actually seen a video where somebody took overworld themes and like clipped them over Breath of the Wild content and
Oh,
I was like, yeah, it was cool for a second, but imagine how you're spending 500 hours in, okay, maybe 200 hours more realistically, in Hyrule. Like, imagine hearing the same thing over and over and over and over again for 200 hours. I mean, that would get, I already get annoyed with a song I love very much, the Spirit World or the Spirit Tracks Overworld theme. I get annoyed by that for just listening to it for 5 hours in a row. Like,
yeah.
so I appreciate what they did with Breath of the Wild because they knew we would be spending so much time in this open world that they gave us more of an open world vibe with the music instead of like a closed off section of music like they do for most Zelda games
Hmm.
because you go to one area, it's one theme song, you go to etc. So I'm gonna say it's a 5, and I'm glad that I grew, and maybe a lot of us as consumers of this game
Yeah.
grew to appreciate the more ambiance vibe that they gave us.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly said. I mean, it would have been like if you heard Monkabass Kashiya's theme for like 8 hours every time you stepped into the Akala region, it'd be like, oh my god, I never want to hear this frickin' song again.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree with you there. There's a lot of themes that like are like underrated actually from this game that I think I've kind of come around to as well. So it did take me a little bit of time, but I think that this is a 5 for sure.
Yeah.
The Hyrule Castle theme, I thought it was gonna win this year, man. I thought it was gonna win Musical March Madness, and
I thought Dark World was. Oh my god.
I
Those
thought
two will never win. I'm so convinced. I swear to God, if Dark World wins next year, I'm gonna throw my computer.
I know I'm having a brain fart. What didn't end up winning this year?
What did end up winning?
Yeah,
I don't even remember. That's
I
how much I gave up on Musical March Madness.
I can't remember. I feel like it was.
Wasn't it the
I'll look this
opening
up.
title theme for Ocarina of Time?
Yes. It
Yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. I picked it. Yeah, I got the winner
I was
right. So
so
there you
convinced
go.
Hyrule Castle was gonna win, but I chose a different song.
I almost picked Dark World, but I went back. But yes,
Those they'll never win.
good music from this Breath of the Wild game.
Yes.
All right, so Allison, it's funny actually because we were arguing a lot on some of these different scores, but our score is almost identical for the definitive ranking here. 4.2 for me, 4.1 for you out of an
Hey.
average here, and it's
Yeah.
funny too because like I feel like the one of the downfalls or the limitations of this system is like when you're looking at this list of 10 ingredients, like all of these are obviously weighted equally, right? But like for me, I feel like 4.2 seems low because I think like a category that I gave a 5 to, like the world for example, is so strong that it makes
Hmm.
up for like some of the categories like dungeons or like items or stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like that makes up for some of the lesser scores in some of those other categories. I don't know if you feel the same.
I understand where you're coming from. I feel like this scoring system that we have more so reiterates what we like to say that every Zelda game is an 8 out of 10 at least.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, I feel like I don't think I have maybe Adventure of Link is like in the 2 region, but I feel like all of my games are like 3.5 and above, if not in the fours already. So, and then it really like when you dive deep and go look at the different categories, you could see how those points were distributed and how they make sense. So, I like this point system, but I do kind of understand what you're saying. Like some things might feel heavier than other things, and that's why I'm like, if I could give this the
Yeah.
world a 6 in this, I would.
Yeah, totally. But and I think that's fine too. By the way, it just is an observation. Because I would say like I think Breath of the Wild is one of my favorite Zelda games. But I think that there's games that I don't like as much that have actually like ranked higher than a 4.2 for me. So it is funny how that works.
Yeah.
Maybe this keeps us honest. I don't know.
Who
Anyways,
knows?
all right, there it is. Any final thoughts on Breath of the Wild here, Allison? We're gonna be playing the Switch 2, by the way, next time that we do this podcast. That is unreal.
I hope so.
Wow.
I'm a
I
little
will
nervous.
be.
Like I haven't heard anything, so we'll see. But yeah, that is wild. That's where we'll be in the world is with the Switch 2 by the time you guys hear us next.
I think
So.
if your pre-order gets canceled, just drive up to Calgary. I'll give you mine.
Oh no.
Could be fun.
It'll just suck because I won't have it like opening day, opening weekend. That'll suck.
Well, no. What you got to do is you got to drive up on
Like a 9-hour drive.
what is it? Yeah. So you got to drive up on Wednesday for the midnight release, and then we could both get it at the same time. That's what we need to do.
Okay.
Yes. All right. If you missed it, Allison, Corey, and I are teaming up to launch Middle Earth, the podcast, available exclusively on patreon.com/spnet. It's going to be our monthly dive into the legendarium of J.R.R. Tolkien. So we hope that you are going to be coming along for that ride. Really excited about that. If you thought Al and I were arguing this episode, oh boy, you should have seen us go. You should have seen us going at it on Friday night, which was a lot of fun. So yes, lots of good stuff to be had on that podcast. There, consider supporting, and hey, let us know what you want to see out of that podcast going forward. Happy Switch 2 week here, my friends. By this time next week, hopefully, a lot of us are going to be playing our Switch 2s, playing Mario Kart World, and I don't know, maybe a lot of us are going to be replaying Breath of the Wild as well, so let us know what you think of our definitive ranking. We are going to get out of here. Of course, we do want to let everybody know, go check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Go like and subscribe and recommend and rate and review and all that kind of stuff. If you got a Zelda fan in your life, tell them where they can get their weekly Zelda fix. Check us out over on Blue Sky, at Spiteri316, at Allison Letha, and at the Zelda Cast. Check out ZeldaDungeon.net for all of your Zelda needs. And as we have mentioned, if you really want to take your Zelda Cast love to the next level, patreon.com/spnet. We've got monthly Zelda bonus shows, monthly bonus Metroid shows, and of course, Middle Earth, the podcast as well. So go and consider supporting that. We are going to get out of here, everybody. Good luck with everybody in their pre-orders for the Switch 2. Hopefully everything goes well, and we'll see you back here next week with our first impressions. So until then, take care.
Bye.
Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this clip and want to see more of the Zelda Cast, make sure to head over to your favorite podcast platform of choice and subscribe. There are over 200 episodes in the vault that will provide you with hundreds of hours of Zelda content for you to enjoy. You can listen to us when you're on a walk, fighting Ganon, trying to sleep, whatever. And if you want to see these shows as they happen, make sure to head over to twitch.tv/the Zelda Cast, where you can watch our beautiful faces talk about Zelda every single week. Don't miss out, and we'll see you next time.